yes, greetings folks, hello and all of that. Before we even get started with this one, normally I wouldn't give an ass about this sort of content. However, one of my buddies sent me this, and whilst I would usually chastise him and tell him, why do you watch these idiots, I dislike the XXS enough as it is, he said to me, watch it till the end, trust me. The video is called Base Guide to Base Conservative Feminist on Voting. You can probably guess why I'm covering this. Conservative feminist, that is quite the oxymoron of a phrase here, so if this is not entertaining, blame my friend. And I'm flying in blind here, so let's see what's up.
And a couple notes from you here.
Okay, stop, my word. Well, listen, 3 seconds in, what the hell am I looking at here? Secret juice, what is that, like Cosby water? Why is this one wearing a Prussian helmet? Props to whoever got to wear it though, madness this scene is. In this one, with the cheek shinier than a polished chrome bumper, my good lord, ladies, we need to have a bit of a word here. I need to give you all some makeup tips. Makeup is to accentuate facial features, at most cover up a blemish or two. It is not meant to make up for a lack of face by drawing on another one. Here's how you know you've gone too far. If you took all that stuff off and a guy couldn't identify you in a lineup with other women, that's how you know you've gone overboard.
You said that body count for women matters. It affects their ability to pair bond properly.
Absolutely.
Casual dating.
Oh, good lord, it gets even worse. No wonder New York Post wrote that article that said making women look stupid is a disturbing new trend. The look on their faces, you can tell there's not a brain amongst this bunch. Tattoo on the chest, no, that is a red flag. Although I'll give her credit, she's the only one that looks like she's actually listening. The one in green is distracted by something shiny, probably. The one next to her is staring at the Cosby water. Next to that looks really, really uncomfortable at the thought of having to think for once. And the last one, just no. The dress sense, the color scheme, the eyes. If you're voluntarily putting on makeup that makes you look like a lady of the evening who's got the eyes of a raccoon on a coke binge, you need to reevaluate life choices, my dear.
Sex is ruining the world and causing things like lack of commitment, unwanted pregnancies, abortion, which you say should be illegal,
Absolutely.
and taking the sacredness out of sex.
Wait, go back to the red-headed blonde there for a moment. Watch the eye roll when he said abortion.
Abortion, which you say should be illegal,
Absolutely.
and taking the sacredness out of sex.
Well, we can probably guess your political affiliation, if you can even spell politics, that is.
In itself, and also that feminism is evil and ruining the world.
Absolutely.
Do you care to expand on your view of feminism at all, or?
I know we're supposed to pay attention to the blonde with more makeup than an airline stewardess, but the body language of the red-headed blonde just screams that glazed, arrogant look of, ugh, this is so stupid, even though everyone knows she is ditzy as hell.
I think that modern day feminism is toxic. I think that it encourages women to be what they shouldn't be. I think that it encourages them to give away sex without any commitment. And I think that that in return encourages men to not ever give commitment, right?
Sure.
Because, you know, if there's no point in getting married and doing all of the things if women are not going to hold themselves up to a higher standard and be worthy of marrying.
Why do you think feminism encourages women to give away sex without any commitment?
Which she has never done ever.
Because they think that it's empowering, but it's not. What's empowering is denying and telling men no.
Facts.
Not exactly sure how that is empowering to women. Like, denial alone is not enough to get and keep a guy's attention in the long run. Little more is required for marriage material, ladies. Recall Eddie Murphy's joke in Raw about regular old crackers. And if you don't know what I'm referencing, you should be ashamed of yourself. Go watch Eddie Murphy's Raw. Still holds up to this day, actually.
Yeah.
Yep.
What about the other waves of feminism, like first wave?
First wave, like Mary Wollstonecraft and all them, I think were amazing. In fact, they were pro-life.
Oh, I can already tell where this is going to go. She is not going to have any idea of the political quest she's about to get dragged into. Even look at the look on her face. That is the look of a puppy who just did a trek and wants a treat. That is a look that says, please tell me you're impressed by me.
Really?
Yeah,
There
they
you
were.
have it.
I wrote an essay about it.
Yeah.
So
you think that the original feminism then, or what you consider first wave feminism, was good?
Oh, absolutely.
What were the
Yeah,
good-
yeah, to some degree. Yeah, I
What
would
was
say
the
so.
first wave of feminism?
What
Oh, that voice.
was the?
There's a couple different waves of feminism.
Yeah, but what was the first wave?
It was just like, you know, basic equality.
Queen Victoria is upset with all of you. She is most disappointed that all of you ladies don't listen to the wisest amongst yourselves, which was clearly her because she called all of this crap to a freaking T. See, this is why you need to listen to royalty that had a sense of honor and duty.
When like half the women were allowed to vote?
No, women weren't allowed to vote yet.
Well, sorry about that. I was picturing the real progress that could have been made if Woodrow Wilson was less of a fuck-up.
I think it was like, what, the early 1900s?
Yeah.
Shouldn't you know the answer to that question? You're the one who wrote the article about first-wave feminism. Apparently.
Yeah.
Where suffragettes came out. But that aside, let's move back. I'm just curious on first wave feminism as a grounding foundation. Why would you say that was good?
I think because it established us as human beings.
This is a trap, isn't it? This is to get me to go full 6th gear based. I sense landmines. I will refrain and let her cook.
Worthy of having some rights.
Man, the more and more I watch this, the more I realize this chick is so far out of her comfort zone. All she has is platitudes and fuck all else.
Like voting.
So you think that voting rights were good?
Oh, Lord, this is like watching an oncoming train, isn't it? You know this is going to get very messy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but why? How come women don't want them?
Women don't want voting rights?
How come they didn't want them?
I couldn't tell you.
Of course you couldn't. I could have figured that out the moment she said she was for first-wave feminism. I can tell you why. It's because they said women would be pushed out of where they have real influence, the home, and they will be retooled into being no more than economic output machines. Ironically, feminism robbed women of their femininity. They will essentially lose what makes them women and be pushed into the realms of responsibilities that are the roles of men. And how did that turn out? Prophetic, isn't it? Then again, if you look at the women who pushed that BS, they weren't exactly lookers, and almost all of them were childless. What a shocker, right?
Yeah,
have to ask them.
almost no women wanted to vote.
And I wasn't aware that they didn't want that. I certainly want voting rights.
Why?
Because I have an opinion and I'm a human being.
And there it is. It is always about power. Like Curtis Yarvin said, the way humans think when you're talking about taking away voting is you're taking away my power, and without my voice, the wisdom of the crowd will be less, and therefore I will be governed slightly worse. That is how these people think. The pitfalls of democracy, its corruptibility, how dysfunctional universal suffrage is a concept that is so far out of their mental capacity, you may as well be speaking a different language. And look at these two lads laughing here. They know they're witnessing a crime in progress.
Yeah, so, well, let me ask you this. Women get the right to vote because you want to expand rights.
Sure.
How come women, when they vote, though, usually vote for more security in the state rather than voting to expand rights? So it's been my experience that usually nobody wants to vote themselves a right to do a good thing. They always want to vote themselves a right for some form of degeneracy.
Oh, that is an excellent point. I also wrote about something similar a while back on an old Substack article about segregation, about how social change happens on a societal scale, like a poison being injected, and slowly over time it begins to seep in. And even though it's doing tremendous damage to the social fabric, which everyone can see, once it sets in and becomes a so-called norm, any talking about it amounts to a social faux pas. It is verboten. Where we live in this really weird space where we're allowed to do more, but talk less. Like, how many of the social ills in our society today can you openly discuss? Almost none of them, and they're all right-wing. Why do you think that is?
I've never actually seen someone say, I want to be more free for more responsibility. I want to be more free so that I have more duty in society.
Well, then you haven't met me.
Mate, if these are the kinds of women you're talking to, that might be the reason you never hear that. Actually, if you talk to women at all, that is the reason you won't ever hear that.
Because that's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
how
So
I
what
vote.
so what do you want to vote for? What do you want the vote for exactly? What do you think
Why do
women
you
should
want to
have
vote?
Okay. Whatever this little spat is back and forth between these two, that guy just won with that. That was his kill shot. Watch it again.
What do you want the vote for exactly? What do you think
Why do
women
you
should
want to
have
vote?
That look right there, that is the look of a face that has never thought this far in her entire life. The fact that she had no answer and simply mirrored the question, that is a reflexive oh fuck panic, because she's never questioned any of this ever.
For me, I'm a patriarchist, right? So from
you don't think
from
women
the
should have
grounding
any
from the grounding
opinions?
foundation, you say you're a Christian,
Sure.
right?
yeah.
Okay, so do you think in society, as a Christian, in a Christian society, why do you think that your founders didn't give women the right to vote?
I never said anything about a Christian society.
Yeah, but why do you think the founders didn't give women the right to vote?
I don't know and I don't care.
See, this chick is not a conservative. She believes women's suffrage was objectively good, and so anything contrary to that is not something she wishes to tango with because it will rob her of a feeling of being empowered. Plain and simple.
You don't care?
No, I
What
don't.
the
Probably
foundation
because they
is?
were based in religion, right? But I believe in separation of church and state.
Right, so you're standing...
You know, believe is a very interesting word. It's a religious word. It means without fact, faith-based. So it's very strange to hear the phrase, "I believe in separation of church and state," which is a faith-based declaration, to have no higher moral power value apparatus in the state, and yet expressed here as if it's somehow an objective one and therefore a fact-based net good. I'm aware it means something different, but I'm using it in the way she's suggesting here.
More like a progressive and not a conservative to me.
Well, that's
so
fine.
if we move it, so we move it to first
By the way, the guy in the white is enjoying the hell out of this bloodbath.
wave feminism. So now you want a separation between church and state as well.
Where does it say?
Can you tell me, other than like some basic, I don't like abortion, what do you actually disagree with progressive women on?
A lot of things.
Like
I believe that. What do you mean?
See? Deer in the headlights. She has no idea why she believes any of this stuff.
Feminism.
Just give me
toxic. I think
anything
women should have
besides
flat
just
hair
I don't
standards.
like abortion, right? So what I've noticed this trend of
Are
women.
you trying to ask me if I
Well, so
economically
I'll
am
tell you,
conservative?
I've noticed this trend of women who are always like, look, I'm a trad girl, right? Ooh, patriarchy's based, haha, right? I hear this all the time. The question, though, for me always becomes this delineation when they're like, third and fourth wave feminism has gone too far. Okay, what about first wave feminism? Oh, well, all the delineation which led to third and fourth wave feminism, I love all that, just not what it turned into.
Okay, this point right here, this is gold. I could almost do a whole video on just this point. He's doing something I call consequence mapping. Virtually no one does this. Either because they're too afraid to do so publicly, likely due to the prospect of vast amounts of social alienation. Those positions seem quite extreme by today's standards. Not to mention it requires a lot of time and research and frankly, brains that most people don't have, though I suspect primarily it is because it's really, really uncomfortable. And not just because it challenges people's deeply held personal beliefs, but you'll see this endless cascade of royal screw-ups one after the other through the decades. And there were warnings, sometimes plenty, but for some reason, that reason being politics, they were always ignored. This is why I say previously, this pattern that we have now of not being allowed to talk about glaringly obvious failures of the modern world, how far back do you think that pattern goes? I dare all of you to clear your mind of any political affiliations and go read, say, pre-1950s literature, especially on things against civil rights. Avoid the thinking of, oh, what did these horrible old racists think? And think more, what did these people of this time objectively observe about the world around them? Read those perspectives, and then take a good, hard look at the society around you now. See if you can stomach that. I'm not suggesting you need to accept everything they said as gospel without question, but they should at least make you question. Because it seems to me most people have no grasp on the concept of power or mass movement. There's a lot of them who will say things like, oh, we just need to go back to this time because it was perfect. And none of them ever get challenged on the simplicity of that reductionism and ask, how and what exactly of that time would you change in order to stop it from becoming to the point that we're at now? Because something must change, seeing as you want to go back to that, assuming that it's better, because you don't like what it morphed into. So how exactly do you go about stopping said morphing? Crickets, nothing. Because I've noticed, and this is not aimed at anyone specifically, but I would say damn near all content creators talk about how they want to see the world, or how the world should be, not how the world actually is. Very much, how would I like to see the world from me and my beliefs? Frankly, that to me is not an evolving mind, that's borderline cultish. And it doesn't help that we exist in this weird ecosphere where one chases an algorithm and some people don't care to think about things this deeply because they want to make money, which also means they will avoid anything of great depth because it alienates the vast amount of people who frankly have progressed no higher than caveman logic, and so they gravitate towards the popular thing like some kind of grifter. Or, if they made a name for themselves being attached to a certain kind of position, they won't change either because they will lose an audience and therefore also the revenue. This is why I'm glad I'm a monarchist, because I don't have to care about any of this nonsense. What moves my opinions are old writings and observable reality. I don't have to cater to any faction, which also makes me appear much more honest and genuine. Thank God for that.
To clarify, I'm a Libertarian Leaning Conservative.
Yeah, she has no idea what she just said. What does that even mean? Libertarians tend to want to get the state out of social affairs. And you said you don't want the church involved in state affairs, so the enforcement mechanism of another power you would clearly not be in favor of by that logic. Libertarians tend to be socially liberal, otherwise they would just be conservatives, for heaven's sakes. And libertarians see eye to eye with them on economic policy, so You basically just said you're a feminist conservative with another label, which still makes no bloody sense.
Nick, you can unmute.
Libertarian leaning.
So funny.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
What
It
are
is.
libertarians trying to conserve?
What do you mean?
Have you noticed any time she gets questioned on anything she supposedly believes, she has no justification for any of this? There's no wonder men advocate for repealing the 19th. These women will swallow anything. Wipe that smug grin off your face.
What are they trying to conserve?
So you're a conservative because you don't believe in separation
Well, what
of church
do you
and
think
state.
conservative means?
Conservatism is rooted in preserving the traditions that
Sure,
were
and
often...
you can
Hold on,
believe in
Stop.
traditions.
Hold on for a second. Conservatism is rooted in preserving the traditions and ideals that this nation was founded upon, which were almost entirely Christian, and libertarianism is oftentimes not
Sure, but
aligned
there's
with
also
that.
a reason why they didn't
So it's kind of a
specifically
contradiction of
state.
terms.
No, it's not, because you can still have those values and not have them based 100% saying that it's because the Bible said this.
Honey, I got news for you here. Values without enforcement mechanisms mean nothing. It requires animation of some kind. It either needs personal conviction or from above. Simple as that. Otherwise, it's just empty rhetoric.
It says nowhere in the Constitution because the Bible said
Well,
that.
then what are you making a foundation of?
Well, you can still believe in those values.
Yeah, no, for
You see what I mean? She has no clue about why she supposedly believes any of this. I would wager heavily, just based on the makeup, she wants to attract a certain type of guy, and based on their appearance, they would likely swing conservative. So she is going to adopt a surface-level gimmick of that, just enough to make a guy think she is one. How's my assessment? Pretty good?
conservation.
You can still 100%. To be fair, I am a Christian,
Pressing extra doubt.
right? I believe in Christianity.
Yeah.
But when it comes to my political views, I don't vote based off of only my Christianity. And I also don't believe
Well,
that we should
Hold on.
enforce those.
Go ahead, Sven.
So, I believe in Christianity, but that's my personal beliefs and no one else should be forced to abide by it. Nah, that's an adorable worldview if you're 5 years old. In the real world, populated by, adults, if you don't force your worldview, something else will force theirs. Weakness invites evil. That is the reality.
Savannah,
So basically what
into
you're
the mic,
saying
please.
is people that serve roughly 50% of the population should have a say in
Let's
the
not
government
linger
they
too
live
long
under.
on.
Man, we need that clip of Norm going, yes, yes, oh God, yes! My word, if I had about half an hour with these women, I would probably scare them into therapy or make them cry. Or scream in rage. Any option would amuse me.
On this topic,
Okay.
please. But
Yes.
And why is that?
Well, because
I think we've seen one
the,
tonight.
I just have a small question after.
because the entirety of women's voting inside of the United States has been a complete unmitigated disaster.
True.
Unmitigated disaster, which has led us to progressive policies, societal decay, a society which cannot reproduce itself, literally, can't even reproduce itself.
Enter my It's Not Feminism, It's Materialism video, by the way.
It's true.
It's led to every form of social degeneracy you currently see inside of society has been due 100% to women voting. Let me give you the counter.
I'm not sure.
If it was
I-
just men who
I may
voted.
have to.
Yeah,
I don't.
I'm sorry.
I haven't
Anyways.
made my decision on the whole 19th Amendment.
Well,
Oh, I have long ago. In fact, I'll go so far as to say this. You are not a conservative unless you want to repeal the 19th Amendment. In fact, lads, you can use that as a litmus test for women. Ask them how they feel about the 19th Amendment. Needless to say, if they don't know what it is, don't bother with them.
if you want me to
Not even
expand,
after tonight.
I'll expand. If
I
it was
don't
just men,
actually.
if it was just men who were voting,
I'm not
for-
sure I can co-sign with it
Yeah,
on
if it
this
was
one.
just men who were voting, for instance, there would not be LGBTQ marriage, which was allowed.
True.
That's right off the gate.
Here,
Okay.
let's here.
Do you,
You're just gonna
I do
anger
want to
that
ask
side
you a
more.
question too. Do you also believe black people shouldn't have had the right to vote too?
No.
Based, absolutely based.
Well, when you're talking about voting, I don't believe in suffrage at all. I don't think voting's good. I don't
Are you
believe
a
that rights
monarchist?
are true.
Are you a
What do you
monarchist?
think should
Oh, that's why he sent it to me. He's a monarchist. Oh, that explains a hell of a lot.
vote?
What's your ideal
No,
political
no.
system?
I would say monarchy would be better than anything, at least right now. But
Wait.
when you're talking about rights, you need to understand that
Did you hear that subtle Jesus in the background? Listen again.
Wait.
when you're talking about rights, you need to understand that
Oh man, for normal Americans, monarchy is kind of gross. The idea of never having the power to vote at all for these types, that's an existential crisis.
there's no such thing as rights. It's made up. You can't taste it, you can't touch it, you can't smell it, you can't see it.
Do you see the blonde on the right there? Now, despite the fact her expression has been greatly dampened given that she's wearing enough makeup to drown a population of beavers, that is the look of trying to save face with a soul that's been thoroughly crushed.
Point to a right. They don't exist absent your mind. These are social constructions which we make up, which have the application of force. So there are no rights. That's all made up nonsense that people have been kind of force-fed into believing.
Pal, it's like you're trying to teach Japanese to preschoolers by only speaking Japanese. What you're saying is so far above their intellectual pay grade. Again, you may as well be speaking a different language.
But first-wave feminism starts with this kind of presupposition that there are some, and there aren't any.
I feel like we're getting
Here,
off the topic.
let's not linger
Interesting
too long, but if
philosophical
you guys
argument.
can make
Oh, what, it ends there? Oh, that's a shame. I wanted to come to a more fulfilling conclusion. Because you know none of them will learn anything from such a dressing down, not a damn thing. What a great society we live in, eh? Cheers for watching, and once again, I apologize for nothing.